Hi everyone, my name is Rick van Bruggen from Neo4j, and I'd like to take a couple more minutes to end these video demonstration series and show you the last loose ends that I have experimented with in my contact tracing demo that I've built on top of Neo4j. Right, so I've written all of this up in a couple of blog posts. I've also got this wonderful guide, and I took you through this guide in the past couple of videos, right? So how we created the Google Sheet, how we imported the data into Neo4j, how we queried the data first of all, and how we applied some data science techniques on this to better understand the data, right? But now I actually want to show you a couple of exploration techniques that I think are really interesting for this use case. The first one is all about the geographic or the geospatial exploration. You may remember that on my graph data set, I actually have geospatial data both for both the places that people visit and for the addresses at which people live, right? So both of them have geospatial components to it, and I can actually really easily look at that by using a graph app. This is a very rudimentary app at this point, but it's getting better day by day, and you can actually look at this in a lot more detail by exploring this NeoMap graph app. This graph app is built in a really neat way, so I can add these layers, right? So for example, I can add a layer for places. I'm going to write a custom query for this, right? The place, right, that I was talking about earlier, has a location property, and I'm going to be extracting X and Y coordinates from that and calling these latitude and longitude, and I'm going to plot those as markers in red on my map here on the right. Right. So here I've got a map of central Antwerp and a map of all the places that are being visited in Antwerp on a map, right? And I'll do the same thing with the addresses of the people, right? So the persons, right? Same thing. I'm going to use a query here, but I need to customize this one a little bit, right? So this is not the location property, it's the address location property. And same thing here, it's the address location property, right? And once I do that and I create a heat map for that, update the map, I all of a sudden I see both layers. I see a layer with all the places and a layer with all the persons. And I find out that the persons are actually living in a particular part of town, right? Kind of interesting. So now I can start, seeing if this is meaningful for me, investigate this a little bit more. And one of the techniques that I'll be using to investigate a little bit more is using a non-technical tool sets to investigate this graph data set. And we have a perfect tool for that nearby called Neo4j Bloom. Neo4j Bloom is a super interesting graph visualization and exploration data set, right, which will look at our graph database and try to make sense of it visually, right? So if I just say here I want to look at the persons, right? So persons. I even made a little bit of a typo there. All of a sudden, I see a lot of person nodes appearing, right? But I can also see that there's something interesting about them, right? Because they have different colors, right? They have different colors that you might want to take a look at, right? Why is that? Because I have a couple of rules here, right? Rule-based visualizations, right? Two of them, right? One of them says, okay, if someone is sick, then I want it to be red, right? If a person has a between this score greater than 0, then I want it to be green, right? That's how I've actually set this up right now, right? So you can actually take a look at that and take this a little bit further. But rule-based visualizations are super interesting to make easier sense out of this, right? And this becomes a lot more apparent when I actually, let me just clear this, right? And I start looking at some of our search phrases, right? Because Bloom actually allows you to wrap complicated queries, complicated statements into really easy, near natural language type of questions, right? So if I have this one over here, right, then I basically say, okay, find community number whatever, right? This is a parameter. Then what it does here at the bottom is it actually executes a query, right? A query that allows me to specify, the Louvain property that I have on my person nodes and explore their surroundings, right? Or same thing here, I've got a PageRank query here, right? I want to look at the people with the top 10 PageRank scores. Well, guess what? All I need to do is say, okay, find the most important persons, right? Let's try that here. Find most important persons according to PageRank, right? And immediately it starts visualizing that, it starts showing that on the screen. And I kind of get a feel for, where are the more important parts, where are the more interesting parts here, right? Because obviously they're going to be structured as such, right? And the same thing I can do with the betweenness, right? Find the most between persons, right? And I can add those to the graph as well, right? So this is an interesting tool set that I'm going to use to additionally to the geospatial visualization. I'm going to explore the structure of the graph using a tool set like Bloom. That kind of wraps it up. Thank you again for paying attention and for watching these videos. I hope they were useful, and I look forward to discussing contact tracing in a graph database with you at a nearby future. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.